Excited that Big Willie Anderson took the time to join us on our First Star Logistics in the Trenches videocast with Dave Lapham. Willie talked about how big he was in high school. Willie always was big. His great college career, outstanding career in the National Football League. Hit that subscribe button so we can grow our channel.
First Star Logistics, opportunity knocking.
Welcome to our luxurious First Star Logistics studio. We're going to be podcasting, and it's in the trenches with Dave Lapham and our guest this afternoon, in the trenches extraordinaire. This guy dominated the trenches. Willie Anderson, big number 71 for the Cincinnati Bengals. In my opinion, Anthony Munoz, left tackle, Willie Anderson, right tackle, going to win yourself many Super Bowls. How you doing, big fella?
I'm good, Lap. Thanks for having me, man.
So I guess let's start in the Wayback Machine. Willie Anderson in high school. Some of these accolades are amazing. USA Today High School All-American in 1992. Bobby Dodd National High School Lineman of the Year in that same year. Alabama High School 6A Player of the Year as an offensive lineman. I mean, you were a highly decorated high school football player, weren't you?
I was, man. It kind of shocked me all. I always say I thought the people in the state of Alabama that gave out those awards, I told myself that all those people were Bama fans. and the only reason that Freddie Kitchens and myself won all those awards because they thought for sure we both were going to Alabama. You know what I mean? Because I was like, no, what in the hell did I do to win 6A Player of the Year? And I was the first lineman to win it, you know. And then ironically, the first lineman to win Mr. Football in Alabama was Andre Smith. So Andre came, I think, about 10 years after me. I won the 6A Player of the Year, and it was a crazy ride my senior year as far as recruitment. It's crazy.
Now, did you play other sports in high school, or was it all football all the time?
Oh no, sir. I was all, not gonna lie, I was all county basketball player.
I like it.
And I wish I was a basketball player first. I was his height at 13 years old, man. So I thought for sure I was gonna be Shaq.
You were 6'6" at 13 years old?
Yes, sir. I was preparing myself. To be a basketball player, but I started noticing I couldn't dunk off a vertical. And I said, damn, I'm forever floored to the ground. I thought for sure I was going to be Shaq or Charles Barkley, big guy who can get up on the rim and run down the floor. But I was pretty agile, but I wasn't NBA ready. But my biggest fault is one of the coaches from a Division III school in Mobile, where I'm from, he moved to be an Auburn assistant my freshman year at Auburn. And he had seen me play in high school and knew I could play basketball. And he begged me to come out to school for Auburn. And I told him we both were scared of my offensive line coach, Coach Trickett. And I said, man, if you go ask Coach Trickett, I'll play. He said, hell no, you go ask him. So neither one of us asked him, and I never played basketball again. So
wow. So I know, Willie, what size shoe do you wear?
18.
18.
And that's been the size since 13 too.
13 years old, you wore a size 18. And what was it? Is it Triple E or something like that, isn't it?
I never seen a Triple E shoe in my life. I always see that in my bio, 19 Triple E. What 18? Once you get past 14, man, everything just big as hell, you know. Hey, who quit counting? Like, you get past size 14, your feet are gonna be either long and wide or long and skinny, but it's gonna be long and something. So
I hear you. Yeah, when I was 14 years old, from age 8 to age 14, every time I went up a year, my shoe size went up. So, 8, 9. I'm thinking when I was 14, I was thinking, man, when I turn like 24, this is going to be tough. It's like, it's got to stop at some point. And it stopped at 14, but man, a size 18 shoe and you were 13 years old. That's
man. It's crazy. So I thought for sure I would be 6'11".
Yeah. But you look at it, Willie, for you to be able to control yourself with your feet, that's, like puppy dogs have to grow into their paws and everything. For you to be able to move around and play basketball with the feet and the size that you 6'6" with a size 18 shoe and have the athleticism that you had, I think guys knew early on this guy's something special.
I saw, as you get old, as we all get old, become ex-football players, and we, and so every now and then I go Google something. I try to find old articles on me, and I find some of the weirdest articles of you all the time.
Really?
And the latest article I found was it was an old article about big linemen in the NFL, about guys who was 340 pounds like myself, but who had the feet of basketball players. And I screenshot it, and the article actually says, it says something like, for a guy to carry that much weight around all his life, he has to possess lower body strength. And I always kind of prided myself in that, because I mean, I didn't magically get big. I was 6'5.5", 305 at 15 years old.
Wow.
And, you know what I mean? And my freshman year in high school, I was 6'5.5", 275 at 14. And you look at my pictures, that I wasn't a fat guy. I just had a bunch of baby fat on me and wasn't toned up. But, you know, I just been a big dude all my life. And ironically, I have a book I'm writing right now. It's going to be, I'm working on the title of it. It's going to be something dealing with big. So being big guy, big thoughts, big ideas, you know, so all those kind of things, man.
So you're a dominant high school offensive lineman, and then you go to Auburn and you dominate the SEC. And I remember I was back in the day with Fox Sports doing ACC, SEC football games. And I had Auburn at Jordan Hare and Terry Bowden's the head coach, and I'm interviewing Coach about offensive line. I said, Coach, who's your best offensive lineman? He said, I'll tell you who my best offensive lineman is. It's an 18-year-old freshman. We got him at guard right now, but this guy is a man. He said, where do you see him? He said, I'll be interested in your feedback and your input. His name's Willie Anderson. He's starting as a freshman, 18-year-old true freshman starter and dominating in our offensive line. What was it like transitioning to Auburn and starting as a freshman?
Now, that's funny you said that about Coach Baldwin, because 2 years later, he tells Dave Lippincott, you know, the Bengals old personnel guy.
Yep.
He tells Lippincott, when the Bengals came in to look at me, he drafted me my junior year, he was like, oh, no, that guy, you guys probably shouldn't draft that guy right there right now.
Really?
Now, Coach Trickett was telling what he said was, he didn't say anything negative. It was Coach Trickett, my offensive line coach. He went so overboard. That's why I love him. Yeah. He went so overboard in describing me. And I heard Terry Baldwin words where Willie's good, but he's not like what Rick is saying right there now. You know, so ironically, he told me the same thing. Like, he told me in 3 years you're gonna be able to go be a first round pick out of high school. I said, okay. When 3 years came up, it was his job to talk me out of not going. So that was funny, man. But you know, I chose Auburn, man, over Alabama. When I grew up a diehard Bama fan. I mean, diehard. I mean, if you're from Mobile, Alabama alumni, they dominate the Mobile area, and Auburn. It was a big thing for me to pick Auburn out of high school. They were coming off a 5-6 record. They were headed into a probably probation. We were told that they wouldn't have any probation. They told us that we would only have some scholarships taken away. So, you know, we all signed. I'm the number one player. I signed, and it was a huge risk for me because Bama had just won the national championship. You know what I mean? And so the weekend that we go for, you know, had Bengals great John Copeland and Sam Shield, those guys. The weekend we go for my visit was the weekend they were getting their ring ceremony. They had the big parade. And some of my friends from my high school, Viger High School out of Pritchard, Alabama, out of Mobile, they started on the team. Roosevelt Patterson, who got drafted like 5th, 6th round. Kevin Lee was a receiver, 2nd round pick. They all played at my high school. They were all older than me. That team won the state of Alabama's first and only national championship team. So we kind of looked at those guys. So my recruiting visit, they were my hosts. But the same weekend they were getting their rings and partying, they left us in our hotel room. They left us. And my boy Roosevelt, he swore he didn't. But the biggest thing with me was that weekend, Gene Stallings, met Gene Stallings, great all-time coach, great man, big-time coach. They was ushering him out in the ring ceremony, and they had the 2 top recruits, myself and my eventually roommate, Jesse McCovery, who was a tight end out of Alabama. We both number 1 in the country. Coach Stallings come over to meet us. They bring us behind the curtains. Coach Stallings looks at Jesse. He said, "How you doing, Willie?" He looks at me. "How you doing, Jesse?"
Oh,
and
man.
we at 18 looked at each other like, "Oh, hell no, he don't even know who we are." We're not coming here. We're not coming here.
It's a nightmare.
But yeah, man. But I'm glad. I love Alabama. Respect them what they're doing now. But you know, Auburn was in my heart, man. And I picked it for a reason. They were the underdogs. I wanted to help bring them back up, in which we did. My first 20 games, we went 20-0. And we had a big time ride there for a minute, man. So I enjoyed every minute.
Oh, yeah, you sure did. No question about it. So it's the silver anniversary, 25th anniversary of Willie Anderson being drafted 10th and the 10th pick in the country, Willie Anderson. And I remember, funny you mentioned John Copeland, because I remember your rookie year, you and John Copeland going 1-on-1 like a nutcracker drill up in the top fields up at Old Wilmington, and you and John Copeland lock up. And man, all of a sudden, John Copeland's eyes get as big as hard-boiled eggs because he's going over backwards on his back, pancake blocked by Big Willie. I'm like, whoo, man, the Bengals got themselves a start at the right tackle position. You remember that?
That's funny you said that, man. I was telling somebody today, the person that helped me become a better run blocker was John Copeland. Like, I don't know if you remember, Cope lost like 15 pounds one time. He got real small.
Yep.
He was still strong. And I learned in the NFL that I can be 40, 50 pounds bigger than somebody and can't move them because he had really good inside hands. And I had to learn early on in my career that I had to get my hands lower than the other guy's hands to be able to move him because Cope, I just couldn't move him in practice, man. Like he was damn like unmovable sometimes. And it frustrated the hell out of me to not be able to do that. So in my run block, back then we were a run blocking league back then.
Right.
You had, as a lineman, you had to be able to put your hand down in the dirt and foul that ball and move guys.
Yep.
And I got it every day in practice, man, with John Copeland trying to move that dude. I couldn't move him. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, he did. He played with great leverage. But Willie, man, you were a road grader. I mean, you were the best run blocker that I'd ever seen play. I mean, you could get that done. But now let's talk about some of your pass protection numbers because these are crazy. All right. 13 seasons in the NFL, you faced 9 of the top 11 all-time sack leaders. Against those 9 defenders, you allowed 1 sack occurred during your rookie season in a matchup against Bruce Smith. Only surrendered 16 sacks in your 13-year career. Didn't give up a sack between 1999 and 2001. 11 quarterback pressures in 2006, 4th fewest pressures allowed by a tackle in the season between 2006 2019. Willie, dominant numbers, my man. I mean, how did the pass protection evolve? When did you feel like you had become an upper echelon, a high tier pass protector?
As you remember, my rookie year, I was backing up Joe Walters, and I was like the swing tackle for Melvin Tooth and Joe Walters. So I think Tootin gets hurt. I played left tackle my first 10 games. My first 10 games in the NFL, I was starting left tackle. And the following year, they came to me and they asked me, they said, man, we want to change you back up. But that year, I was still struggling my weight too. I came back my second year like 365. I was big as hell. Didn't really know how to understand how to work out in the offseason, and they moved me back. I remember Paul telling me, you're probably too damn big to play left tackle anyway. Like, you lose some damn weight. But about my third year, man, it clicked on. Like, it clicked on to where I kind of knew that what my base technique, what I was going to do, because everybody's different. Like, I played with 5 or 6 other NFL left tackles, and none of us blocked the same. Maybe myself and Whitworth blocked the same, maybe.
Right.
Everybody's different. And I think I learned my third year about my technique and what I was good at and what I knew defenders. I always tell guys now, I train now, you have to visualize what the defender sees you as. And I knew guys saw me as a big guy. I had a big old stomach, big feet. And they wanted to out-athletic me, but they didn't really realize that was my game, that I was a power run blocker, but I was a guy who I wanted to dance with you. And so speed rush me, please.
Yep.
The move I don't want you to do is stop and spin inside of me. You know what I mean? But guys would never do that because, we try to punish guys on inside moves. So I rather got them inside moves. But, I was a big guy who could move my feet, man. My third year, technical-wise, it kind of clicked on to where, like you say, that 4th through 6th year, gave up no sacks because the confidence started my second year, but the light really clicked on my third year. I knew I had it. And I knew if I did what I was supposed to do, it'll be hard for guys to beat me.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, Leadership and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.
Man, and they had serious problems beating you. There's no question about that. It never really happened. A big source of pride, Billy, was it you're such a dominant run blocker like you talked about. You helped Corey Dillon break 2 NFL rushing records. Jim Brown's rookie single-game rushing record, and then Walter Payton's single-game rushing record of 275 yards. And then you helped Rudy Johnson set a single-season Bengals rushing record, which stands to this day. So, you were instrumental. You were a centerpiece of these rushing records. Is that a big source of pride for you?
Absolutely, because I read somewhere before I got to Cincinnati that the Bengals had 1,000 yards rushes. Then we started a string of them. I think Corey's rookie year. So from 90, I don't think Garrison didn't have 1,096, but I think from Corey's rookie year, he had 1,100 on, and from every year on, I played with 1,000-yard rusher, which is, back in the 80s and 90s, I came to the league in the mid 90s. Running the football was a big thing where the tailbacks were your stars, and you kind of prided yourself off who had the best running backs. Pretty much on every level.
Right.
And I was joking with Brian Simmons the other day. I said, I said none of the linebackers today have to wear that neck brace you wore because they're not facing Corey Dillon and Jamal Lewis and Eddie George and Jerome Bettis in the AFC North.
Right.
He said, hell no, they're not doing that anymore. But that was a source of pride for us, man, running the football like that, especially as because you call all damn games. We didn't have a good passing game,
Right.
the stuff that Corey was doing, man. And I tell folks all the time, man. I told my tackles this. I told Rod Jones this. I told Levi this. Told Whitworth this. Told Richmond Webb this. And man, look, being the tackle for the Cincinnati Bengals is one of the hardest jobs in football. I think it is. It's so much pressure because the fans know what excellence is by seeing, Munoz and all you guys from the 80s. They knew what excellence looked like. So there's a lot of pressure, even to right now. Look at it right now. It's pressure on the Bengals offensive line right now.
Right.
And through the history of this organization, when we've won, we've had the big guys on both sides of the ball playing high-level football. So being a tackle, man, you got to take personal pride in your work. And I always told guys, being a tackle for the Bengals, playing offensive line for the Bengals, one of the toughest jobs in football besides playing quarterback.
4 straight Pro Bowls, Willie, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006. Just dominating the league. And this year, you finish in the top 25, the 25 list for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And in my mind, you're a viable candidate. You should be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. You should be in Canton, Ohio. I want to be there and watch you get inducted, big fella. I mean, what would that mean to you to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame? And how tough is it based on what you were talking about? You never, a good part of your career never really had, forget elite quarterback, just above average quarterback play to make the game a little bit easier.
I mean, when I heard I was a semifinalist, I had tears in my eyes. So I can only imagine getting to the finals and being even in the final list to be considered. But, like I said before, I said last year, I was happy that the voters, I thought my name would never move from, the group they put out every year as candidates. So for my name to move, that meant a lot to me because I really thought that people wouldn't pay attention. When I started sharing my film on Instagram, on Twitter 3-4 years ago, it was because I was doing it as teaching tools and showing my high school kids and my college and my pro guys, how I played and some of the things I used. But that's, we started looking at it like, damn, your numbers are, if they took numbers for linemen, it would be ridiculous. A friend of mine found my Pro Football Reference thing about my holding. I probably had like 12 holding penalties my whole career. And through your career, you're taught to be a humble and don't brag on yourself, person as a lineman. You know this. But
Sure.
In this Hall of Fame thing, man, if people are not talking about you, you get lost. And I always thought that no one would pay attention to a guy who was playing good on bad teams. You know what I mean? You know, the same way we had other players that were playing pretty good, but as a team collectively, we weren't winning football games. But we had guys who were playing high levels. You know, and myself and Corey Dillon and Takeo, and these guys like that, Chad, and these guys like that. But you know, that early success just evaded us. And unfortunately, the Hall of Fame voters are going to look at the number of Pro Bowls and All Pros, and you have to realize though we were fighting in my division alone. We were fighting three or four tackles from the AFC team alone. Myself, Jonathan Ogden, Baselli, Leon Searcy, a couple of the guys. You had Tony Jones for a minute here early on. So that AFC North alone was we fighting against top talent tackles as alone. So, you know, but I played in a golden era, I believe, of tackles, and a lot of great guys. I just hope the voters understand, you know, there was a lot of great guys playing, you know what I mean, and look at everything. So
You just mentioned a little bit that you are training guys, high school, college, NFL at the Willie Anderson Lineman Academy. Tell us a little bit about the Willie Anderson Lineman Academy. How did it come about, and what are you doing?
Man, I started to think about this when my son was playing high school football, and we was going around the city of Georgia, city of Atlanta, training around the country, training, doing camps. And my son was a receiver, DB, and quarterback. So I had to learn all those positions. And I trained as much as he trained, you know, in learning the positions. And I would see parents, man, and people asking for help. But offensive line play, and I was like, man, I can't because my son is so far behind. You know what I mean? And once my son got his scholarships and went off to Georgia Tech, I had the idea to start this. And I said, you know what? I know I would be really, really popular around the country with media stuff if I trained pros. But to me, training high school kids, man, been so damn rewarding. Like, we've been doing it for 5 years. We got kids going to college around the country. We have kids coming to train with us from around the country. We have people from Brazil coming to train with us. That's kind of why I wanted to start it, because I thought the offensive line position is one of the most undertaught, undervalued positions at the lower levels. You know what I mean? From football's been, you know, even though I don't agree with football 10 and under, but they play it. I don't train the kids that young, but you know, teaching kids at 13, 14 years old how to play offensive line and get into high school. And we tell our coaches, like, don't think I'm going to show them something that you don't need. I want to learn what my kids are learning from their coaches, help make that better. And then once they go out to these camps and have to compete one-on-one at these camps, we want to win these one-on-one reps to get these scholarships, get in shape, be good kids, get the grades. And that's kind of what the academy started about.
So, Willie, what are the traits that like some young kids that are listening right now, or parents of young players that are listening right now, what kind of traits do you look for in a young offensive lineman that might be coming to your camps or your academy?
I tell parents all the time, man, it's easier to coach the same thing. It's so easier to train a kid who plays multiple sports. Wrestling, basketball, baseball. I have linemen playing all kinds of things. I have a lineman who's a swimmer. Oh. He's a swimmer and pretty damn good at it. Now, he's not that big of a guy, but he's 6'7" right now. But he's like 230, young kid, 10th grader. But he'll probably be about 280 when we get done with him.
Sure.
He's only 15 years old. He's a swimmer. It's so easy to train those kind of kids because their bodies know how to move. And we said earlier, gone are the days of the 340-pound tackles like I did. I played football. Even in colleges, the guys are slimming down more. It's a different kind of game. So being we pride ourselves on training big guys to be able to move their bodies. Not necessarily a bunch of offensive line stuff drills, but you'd be surprised guys coming out of college, they can't move. Everybody stumps their feet. They're not light on their feet. They're not natural athletes. So if I'm a parent, I would have my kid at a young age play every sport, have fun. Don't matter if he wins, she wins, or lose. Just make sure you're playing it so your body can be used to being an elite mover. Those are guys that make it. And even just make it for your high school team. Being a better athlete makes you a better offensive lineman, So,
no doubt. So let's talk about the draft. You mentioned the Bengals offensive line under a lot of pressure still. It's let's say we're looking for continued improvement. Frank Pollock comes back to coach the offensive line. Do you have any history with Frank Pollock at all, Willie?
No.
Don't know Frank. Okay. Well, he's he was here and went to the Jets and come back. And the Bengals are talking about with that 5th pick taking Sewell out of Oregon, Panay Sewell, and he's a big guy, 6'5", 330 pounds, moves pretty well. Have you watched much tape on Sewell? And Rashawn Slater is another guy out of Northwestern that is getting a little bit of buzz, as people think might be an offensive lineman drafted in the top 10 in this draft, like you were for the Bengals 25 years ago. What about these guys, Sewell and Slater? Have you seen much tape on those guys?
A little, and I talked to more about people who I know that worked with him before. I've been a Panay Sewell fan since I coached him in high school at this camp for Nike.
Okay.
And he and Cincinnati's own kid, Jackson Carman.
Yeah.
They all were at that camp for Nike, and those two guys in particular dominated that camp. We had pads on some of the top kids in the country that are not playing high school football. So I saw Sewell at that age, that camp, and knew he was going to be special. Now, what he did his freshman and sophomore year at Oregon, that was kind of unbelievable. But I have been bragging him about being one of those big guys who are an athletic guy. He's kind of a new age tackle, big guy, who can really move. I say he ran a good 40. He's really strong and explosive. People talk about the lack of NFL talent. I'm like, well, the guys play college football, and you play who you play. We all see guys that play at a high level. Khalil Mack played at the University of Buffalo and came in and tearing the league up. So you can't discount the Pac-12 as not a conference that put out NFL guys, which is that's not true. So he's played who he's played, he's dominated who he's played. The kid at Northwestern, I'm hearing Slater.
Yeah.
They're saying he's probably more versatile. He probably come in and play immediately as a guard too.
Yeah.
But both guys you see him on film, Sewell is so damn explosive. He's explosive. He's dominating. And I know a lot of fans on Twitter have been talking about the receiver position. Either one, and I was picking a side, but it's according to what the Bengals want. I think the Bengals should fix one thing, and whatever that one thing is, they should go head over heels and fixing that to make sure that's not a weakness. And I think they're going to ask themselves if this is going to be an offensive lineman or a receiver that help fix their problems.
Yeah, to me, if you get an offensive lineman that could play left tackle or right tackle for 70 snaps a game, the ripple effect, it helps so many people. It helps the quarterback, helps the running back, helps the receiver, helps everybody. When you got offensive linemen that can play, it just helps. There's a huge synergistic ripple effect on that.
And too, Dave, you're going to look at, I told people on Twitter the other day, I said, look at what Quinn Nelson and the kid Braden Smith out of Auburn, what they brought to the coach their first year. Everybody say Quinn Nelson because he's playing dominant ball, but Braden Smith, the right tackle, been playing pretty damn good too. Mm-hmm. And immediately when those two guys got into that lineup and the attitude of that line changed, because let's admit, when you play with really good guys, we all in the film room, we at practice, you see what that other person's doing.
Yep.
And you're just going to pick your game up because that guy's always getting complimented and you always getting saying you're doing the wrong thing. So most times guys are going to rally together and try to play at the level of their best couple linemen. You know what I mean? And I think, if you get a guy like that, the only reason I'm defending it because people don't, I'm not saying who to draft, but just for people who don't think that a lineman can come in and have an impact as much as a receiver, and they're wrong, according to what you just said as far as those numbers. We're playing a lot more plays. Yep. If we come in and start running the ball better, that helps everybody out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's doing two things. If he can pass protect, if he can run block, that helps everybody out, man. Don't undervalue that, Bengal fans.
No question about it, big fella. All right, so I always like to ask great players this question. If you had to pick a guy, or maybe not just one, but the best that you played against, who, from a matchup standpoint, who was the guy that was like, ooh, I gotta bring the lunch pail today, man. This is gonna be I gotta work, and I gotta work every snap. Who might a guy be, or a couple of guys?
Well, obviously I played against some really great guys, great guys.
Yep.
I always say, so Bruce Smith, I gave it 1 second against Bruce Smith, but if you look at the film, he gave me hell the whole damn game. I was a rookie left tackle, and I gave only 1 sack to him at the end of the game. But my two toughest to me One when I was a kid, and this person I was an older man.
Okay.
The first one I was 23 years old, and I had to block Reggie White. And, and to that point, 3 years into the league, I hadn't faced any person that was strong as me.
Right.
Now I was playing at 340.
Right.
But here's a man, I'm like, damn, how is he doing? How is he hitting into me? And my entire freaking skeleton is hurting. Like my skeleton was in shock. Like if I wasn't 340, I couldn't have blocked him.
Yeah.
Like there's no way guys 305. I watched Eric Williams block him. Eric Williams 325, 330. You know, the week before we played him, this guy Jason Odom. Lord bless Jason. Jason played for Tampa, and he was the All-American at Florida. And the prior week we played him, we played our game on the prior week. I come home and Jim ESPN Berman, he puts a highlight tape on of Jason Odom, man. I felt bad for him, and so I'm playing Reggie White, and who's my idol. You know what I mean? I gave my life to Christ, and in college I saw that he did, and I wanted to learn more about the Bible because of Reggie White. I wanted to be Reggie White as a D lineman, as a young high school kid, but I moved to offensive lineman. So now I'm playing him, and I'm studying him all week. And I tell a newspaper in Cincinnati or Columbus, one of them, I said, yeah, I think I got a pretty good plan against Reggie. I'm gonna do my best and work my plan. And I read the paper, and lo and behold, Bruce Coslett says, well, everybody has a plan until they play Reggie. I was mad as hell. I went and told Paul Alexander. I said, what in the hell is, I was so damn mad. And that kind of fueled me because I said, oh, the entire city think I'm going to get my ass kicked. I said, okay. I said, I prayed to God. I said, God, hey, I know this man is one of your biggest warriors. And I'm 23 years old, man. I'm out here chasing girls. And I know, God, that, he's more probably valuable to you than I am. I said, but just please don't let me get put on my head. Don't let him throw me on my head. And in the whole city of Cincinnati, Dave Lapham, everybody, ESPN, my boys back home are saying, damn, he picked Big Willie. Now, he did pick me up, but I landed on my feet one time and I blocked him. So
that hump move he had, man.
So he was trying to hump me. Every time I felt it, his hand would just go under my hand right here. Like he rushed in slow motion. He comes, put his hand on your shoulder pad. If you don't sit down on it, he's going to pick you up and throw you in your head. And so imagine the weight of his power trying to hump me and the power I got to do to sit down on it to keep him from humping me. And all he would do is just laugh and smile and would say, big fella, you feel it, don't you? You feel it? You feel it coming, don't you? And so somebody told me, hey, man, don't say nothing to him and anything. So I never spoke to him. I just blocked him. And the next hardest person, man, when I became an old man, the league was changing, and they was changing to smaller, faster guys that you would never think play NFL football at 6'1" was Robert Mathis. Yeah, like, dude can do things at 6 feet tall that Reggie White and Julius Peppers, them guys, they couldn't do. They were too tall to do. He can outside spin move. He can duck your outside arm. And I knew then the league was changing. It was time for me to get out of the league by then.
Oh, those two great ones. Yeah. I remember when I was playing in the USFL, Doug Flutie was a quarterback in the Generals, and Reggie was playing for the Memphis Showboats in the USFL. And he ran. Doug Flutie could run. Doug Flutie gets out of pocket, scrambles, tries to get out of bounds. Reggie catches him from behind before he gets out of bounds. I mean, squashes him. And he broke his collarbone. His collarbone was up in his earlobe, man. He shattered his collarbone. I hear this, and it's Doug Flutie just getting crumbled by Reggie, man. Unreal. Unbelievable.
For people to see, especially that young Reggie, people to see how big he was, man. Like this dude was 6'6", 305 pounds, playing defensive end where you're supposed to be fast and agile like what he was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, when I got him this last year, he was 36 years old, led the league in sacks. 16 and a half sacks. He wore no glove, and his face mask his face was just stuffed in his face mask like it wasn't even a part of his head. And I come in third, he come in on third down, and all I hear is we at home in Synergy.
Yeah.
Reggie. What the hell? them Green Bay fans, man, they want him to hunt on third down, man. And luckily, like I said, I shut him out. But honest to God, truth, I was hurt for the next 5 weeks. I thought he broke my wrist. my shoulder was beat up. My hip was beat up. Like he was a load, man. He was a load, bro.
I think you described it perfectly. And, you play against guys sometimes where every time they hit you, your whole skeleton shakes, man. They just shock your whole innards,
I just don't understand that, man.
Moving organs around in there. Everything's moving around in there,
Yes, man.
What the heck?
Yes, like this is not normal, bro. It's not normal.
Exactly. Well, Willie, one more time about your the Willie Anderson Lineman Academy. How can people, if they've got an interest in what you're doing, how can they reach out to you and be part of the academy? And what's the process?
My academy website is willieandersonlinemanacademy.net. I also have some training videos that we did at training.olineblock.com. Some stuff on pass protection. You guys can go purchase and buy that stuff. But that and my social media, man. I stay on social media. I'm really big in Bengals Twitter right now. That I didn't realize how big Bengals Twitter was the last 2 years, and that's really been fun doing it with the fans, man. And so I respond. Instagram and Twitter are both the same name, Big Willie 7179.
That's awesome, Willie. You're not only a great player, you're a great person, man. Great human being. Appreciate the time, and in my opinion, just one of the greatest offensive linemen I've ever seen. And the thing about you, Willie, one final comment about you is for your physical supremacy, you had the football IQ, man. You saw things in the field. I remember seeing you adjust to things that tackles didn't even think about looking for. Big Willie's just, it's effortless. You just understood the game at such a high level. That was that always the case with you?
It is, man, and I think you become that. I tell my young players now, you have to become a fan of the game. Like I don't think God blesses you if you're not a fan and obsessed about a certain thing you're doing. Mine was sports, football and basketball. I was obsessed with it, and I studied so much film. I wanted to learn so much about guys. We had no YouTube. I always told everybody my YouTube was a guy by the name of Robert Dr. Doom Brazil. Played in the NFL 2017 Hall of Fame. He was one of my high school coaches. And he told us the stories, all these NFL and college stories. And they just had my mind going so much that I wanted to learn so much and much more. So every year, with football, I'm studying and just becoming a fan of the game. And once you become a fan of it, I saw Kobe talking about this. You become a fan of it, you have no choice but to dissect it. And when you're a fan of it and you're playing, and you're a fan of being a skillful guy and learning skills, you go study, you go look at it, you watch it on TV, you go on the internet and watch it. And I think all young players, to get the kind of IQ, you got to first love what you're doing.
Right.
And because it's so damn hard, it's so tough, you're going to be injured, you're going to be hurt, you're going to have a lot of bad days, especially in high school and college, trying to get to the level you want to get to. You have to be able to love it, to be able to go through all that pain and agony. And loving it, you're going to learn more about it. And I always wanted to learn more about it. And that suited me when I got to the NFL because I'm watching these other guys get these Pro Bowls and get this nod. I wanted to be known as one of the best guys. So I looked at every damn thing I could to break a guy down. And I truly believe that helps me with only giving up my 16 sacks, was knowing the game and knowing what they can do and what I couldn't do.